Yes, it was pretty good.
All
I'm here.
right, let me do this right
Yeah,
here.
yes, it's always
Okay.
good.
All right, everybody. I know you heard all the chit chat, but that's okay. This is Ronald Gordon with Texas in Color once again for another week of TGIF. And a lot of people wait for this to come along Friday, but we start your Friday, the weekend off with some news of what's going on in Texas, and we're still on the school vouchers because the vote did go through on Wednesday and they did pass it. Guest today, as each week, is Dr. Veronica M. Brooks and Mr. George Green. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Good
Good morning to
morning.
all.
So it's been an interesting week.
Yes.
Um, it's just like things was fast paced. Like Veronica, you wasn't with us last week, and we were talking about school vouchers on the fast track that they did, and they did pass it. It went through, and it was under Senate Bill 2. Families could receive $10,000 a year per student in public tax dollar to fund their children's tuition in private schools and other expenses like textbooks, transportations, and this is the part that got me in therapy. Huh?
That's my question. That's the
I said,
question
I,
I
I
was going
said,
to ask
where did
you and Mr.
therapy
Green
coming at
about.
it? Are they going through? I'm just making a joke, but so y'all don't get me wrong. Are they going through therapy because they got the voucher? I'm just saying. I'm trying to. Where did that? I did not see that coming in the bill. I swear, I didn't see it coming. So, like George said, the closer it gets to the bill being written, more is going to come out on what the bill is, and more is coming out. So, anybody got any deal about the
Yeah, I
the
have
therapy?
questions. I have questions that you and Mr. Green probably may can clear up for me because I really wanted to know what type of therapy what you were talking about. I wonder what they mean by that word specifically, therapy. And that was one of the questions because when I'm looking at this, they said for the private school, and then it was between uh $150,000 to like $160,000 of a four uh person household
Yeah,
that which we know that there's people that don't make that, so what about them as well? So that was, I needed the clarity on that therapy part because I don't understand what type of therapy it is. I don't understand that at all.
yeah. I don't understand either. Mr. Green, you got something to share on that?
Well, I think there is more that's going to have to be cleared up. Um, until we sit down with our own representatives and say, okay, explain to me in black and white and in detail how this money would be laid out. What do they mean therapy? There's a lot more that's going to have to be discussed and shared, and it will come out, but we hadn't seen it yet. So those questions that you have, Dr. Brooks, and even myself, uh, we got to give it a little more time and see uh, what they mean by therapy and these different levels of families that can qualify.
And now,
Okay, and then the other question I had, oh, I'm sorry, Ron, were you getting ready to
no,
say
you go
something?
ahead. I got something else coming up, but you go right ahead.
Um, okay, in a Senate bill, for example, at the state level, we're going in there presenting the bill, correct? So my thing is, if there's more to be on the bill, are they adding to the bill? Or is what they submitted is what they submitted? Because it sounds to me like they're changing the bill because one thing, it never should have been passed if it wasn't clear. So that's my thing. What? are the actual facts of what the bill is?
What can I answer that here,
Yes, sir.
Ron? What typically happens is if the Senate passes a bill and then it goes to the House, and then the House has to they will tweak it most likely. They're not going to rubber stamp it as it is, and so you will see some modifications to what the Senate submitted. So it's going to go through a number of different um, additions before it does get to the governor. So you can bet the House is going to make some adjustments to the bill.
But isn't once they pass, like it was passed right now, and I don't know if Abbott signed it already. Can he still add to it even though it passed already? Don't they have to put an amendment on it?
As it goes from the Senate. They passed, okay, the bill. Then it goes over to the House, and the House will make some adjustments. It's not quite at the governor's desk yet.
Okay.
It's a while before it gets there.
Because they said, okay, the Senate Bill 2 advanced in a 19-12 vote with all Democrats and one Republican. Senator Robert Nichols of Jacksonville opposing the legislation. Okay, so yeah, that's got to be kind of cleared up.
It will be, and Senator Jackson, or Senator over in Jacksonville, he's a pretty meticulous guy. So I'm sure he had some reason for doing what he's doing, and I'd like to know those. We'll see.
Yeah, because it says the bill now goes to the Texas House, and then similar legislation repeatedly hit a brick wall in the chamber 2 years ago, but top officials have said there are now enough supporters in the House to create education savings accounts this year. That's another question I had there. Because when you go down through the article, it even talks about savings account. That was another question. So yeah, it's got to be cleared up.
Yeah. One other thing that got me scratching my head, the Senate bill does not require some students to take the same standardized test that public school students take annually, which some of the vouchers and school officials argue it's an unfair playing field. And this is, I think his name is Carrington, if I'm right. He said it didn't make any sense to impose the same testing requirements on private schools that public school officials say that they opposed, like the STAR test. So basically, they're saying, why does the public school got to take that STAR test, but then private schools don't? I think I brought that up a while back on some of the episodes, that it's double standard. It's all like, you're in private school, you don't have to take the test.
Yeah, I think private schools, because when you have your child in a private school, we do pay much more money, which more money means better books, better computers, better everything, right? When you pay more money, I would think. In the public school, they always they're saying, and record shows that the standards in their test scoring is lower, and that's because they don't have the same equipment. So it's an unfair stage anyway, just from that, not having the right books, the right computers, stuff, not paying the teachers enough, for one thing. I'm big on that, because I think all teachers should always make six figures.
Yeah.
But the thing is, because they're taking care of your child, basically trying to get them to learn and trying to help that child, they're putting their all into it to help the child learn. But it is a unequal playing ground. It's not fair.
Yeah.
And this is not fair when I'm looking at this bill because they're talking about um, the state actually is going to pay that money to that private school. What was how much was it? I forgot, $10,000 or something like
Yeah,
that.
$10,000 vouchers. Yeah.
Yeah, the voucher. They're paying it to the public school, but my thing is, if they're going to give that much to a public school from the state, that's still coming from the taxpayers' dollars, but some of the people are in private school. See, so there's things that are not on the same playing ground. And I know for what I've looked at and what I studied, they said that kids have a tendency to do better when they're able to be paid attention to by the teacher. You can't overcrowd the class where the teacher can't help, each student. You can't have 100 students in there with one teacher, for example. Usually I think it's about like 30 or something like that students for per teacher. But see, in a private school, they always have like maybe 3 or 4 teachers maybe in the one class. I know when my kids were in, that area, my grandkids in that area too, the private school, they had more attention, one on one. You got to see where every child is at. Every child is not at the same level, and each child goes through different things,
Yeah.
not only in the school, but in the household. So a teacher figures out how they can build that child and help that child get as much education as they can. They go above and beyond because they see where the child is at. But when you're putting too much on them so they can't even succeed in a public school, I don't understand the other part of the private school where you want to give that and then have the taxpayer pay for that actually private school. It's
Oh,
just so
okay.
much there for me.
I'm
Well,
just go ahead, Mr.
I,
Green.
I think what you'll see, Dr. Brooks, is a lot of these things will come out as it gets over into the House. You got 5 times more people over in the House of Representatives than you do in the Senate. So with that 19-12 split coming out of the Senate, you're going to see a lot of discussion on some of the topics that you're bringing up. Just the student teacher ratio has always been an issue. Uh, Private schools tend to have a more favorable student teacher ratio than a public school, and the numbers that you're throwing out there, Doctor Brooks, is pretty close to 30 to 1 in a public setting, and in a private setting, it's lower. So those things are going to come out. Accountability definitely will come out. You know, what kind of testing will a private school have to undergo, if any? I mean, we'll just have to see how that goes. But there's a lot of more wrinkles to be ironed out here before it gets to the governor's desk.
Okay. Yeah, and yeah, I could see that definitely needs to be ironed out. But see, that's why I'm wondering if, if Republicans, you're either for the people or you're not. Democrats, you're either for the people or you're not. My thing is what is good for our American people and what is actually fair. That's what we all should definitely look at as for the American people, the people that are here and the people that support and we pay our taxes. So it's definitely, I can't wait to see the outcome of all this. And it's going down because when I looked at this, And Ron, it was the percentage of people that go to the school,
Yeah, that was in there.
private school. It was in, yeah, because I saw it in the article. But
Um,
anyway, it was something, it was more white people that go to the private schools than the black
yeah,
people.
it
It
was
was
50
6%, I think, black people, and 20, was it
three,
23%?
two. It was 55% of private school students were white students compared to 6% black and 23% Hispanic.
Okay, see, when I look at those, that's data. And when you look at that data, that goes back again to this white thing, this white stuff. And it's it's that's the thing. We always are catering to the white people that are really, they're immigrants actually. They need to be back in Germany or whatever. But anyway, the thing is, it's always that, and they always are catering more to what they want. But yet, when black people do what they do in succeeding, we always come up in it. And it's like, wait a minute. So it's always uneven every time you look at that, but yet you're supposed to be for the American people. So, what is this again? How are we gonna actually level it out? I guess we have to wait again until they get over this, all this DEI stuff, which, that again, black people come up in that too. And the majority is DEI hires are white women and the CEO white men. So when you look at all that data, and then black people, we at the bottom. We're not even up there, because the next percentage that comes in the DEI part of it is Latino, right? So, and then you have the disabled, and then you have, what is it, the LBGQ, whatever, the alphabet people. They take up the whole alphabet, and then there's black. We're down at the bottom, but then everybody puts that again. They put black people, that's DEI, they get what they hire in the DEI area. Black people are the ones that are the most basically intelligent, and has a lot of skill, which majority of black people do. They're very intelligent and very, very smart. But it all keeps boiling down to this white area, and that's where the unfairness comes in. And I just don't know exactly. I mean, we just, God, this is just, it just goes on and goes on forever, because just looking at this bill, it definitely needs to be corrected. And we have to contact what our senators, and I did that too. I did do that. I sent the letter to the Senate and things like that. I don't know exactly all what they do, but I sent the letter, and that was dealing with RFK. That was with the health part. That's a whole nother subject.
Yeah,
But I did send that letter there. And then, because you guys told me to just go ahead and contact my
that's
people, so
right.
I did do that. I want y'all to know I did
And we
follow.
had the list last week of all the phone numbers of representatives that they could call. To go in and answer one of those 10,000 questions you asked, Dr. Brooks.
I know.
I
I
know,
have
but
to
it's all
do.
good. Here is a deal about, it says if parents of a child in a low performing school, their chances of getting a voucher is the same as a child that comes from a home that is making 150 to $160,000. That's an unlevel playing field by me just saying that.
Yes,
Because what
yes,
are the
that's
chances of somebody low performing, and then what I didn't see in this bill, I got to read it again. I didn't see how they submit any requirements. Has anybody seen that, George? Have you seen any requirements?
I have not. No. Um, that's yet to come. That's yet to come.
You
So,
know,
so yeah, see, that's so unorganized because you're messing with people's lives and like I said, even their livelihood. Those are things you don't want to mess with people's livelihood and people that are trying to help their children. We got to
Yeah,
make sure we get that straight because it's the kids, they don't need to grow. They're growing up in all this chaos and it's just nothing but chaos because it just looked like all the DEI higher white category are incompetent.
so
They can't even get a bill straight.
let me break this down, and people want to know exactly how much are the vouchers and who's getting what. It says Texas families could receive $10,000 a year per student, and I think it's capped off at 4 students, if I'm right. And in the private school, now you get 11,500 per student with children with disability, and at least $2,000 a year for each child for homeschooling. Now they put $1 billion in this voucher program. Now we all know that's not for everybody. Everybody apply for it is not going to get it. So whatever they're how they're going to do it is I think last week on Mr. Green we talked about 1.8 1.85 students will get the voucher out of
mhm.
all the students in Texas. So and then they go on and say there are some counties that don't have private schools.
Yeah, they mentioned something about the homeschool though, right?
Yeah, $2,000 a year per student for homeschooling.
Yeah, I'm holding my breath on it because what you're saying is exactly right. Uh, it's not going to be for everybody, and when we're looking to get a level playing field, it's going to be a struggle. Um, Again, even for the parents, I kind of feel for them because they're still scratching their head about the voucher and about the savings plan. What is it going to be? And it's still bouncing around there in Austin. So there's still more yet to come out, and the poor parents. I'm sure they're just scratching their head, full of anxiety as to how and what's going to happen. Bottom line, we want our kids to get a better education.
Yes.
That's what we want, and on top of that, to be in a safe environment. So, um, that those are the things they got to work out there in Austin here in the next couple of months.
Matter of fact, I'm glad you mentioned safe. And for the private school, they are not held with the same standards for safety. So that was brought up, and they sort of just like walk past that. Like that's all right. It's a private school. They do what they want to do. But safety is a great responsibility for our kids out there. They got to be safe to go to school. And you just can't push that under the table because I don't want to jinx anybody, but we haven't had that many active shootings in school so far, knock on wood. But what does a private school have to do that the public schools do for safety? I know public schools, they have drills now. I mean, when I was growing up, we had tornado drills. And I still couldn't figure out tornado drill. When we go to the gym, we kneel down on our knees and cover our head. I haven't figured that one out yet. Because if a tornado comes, it's going to rip the roof off and everything. But anyway, that's another story. But the drills they do with public schools is they lock the door, they got everything together. And you know what? They're saying private school is not doing the same thing when it comes down to safety for the kids.
Well, there's a lot that our legislators and our school administrators have to take on, and it just seems like it just gets higher and higher. It's the safety issue, it's the academic issue, it's the hiring qualified, good, high qualified teachers. Uh, and I saw where there's some that they're wanting to do away with DEI hired. I mean, they're
Mm-hmm.
asking for immediate firing. So there's a lot that is going on right now. At the beginning of the program, Kanye said it's a lot happening, and it is, and it just gets the wheels just continue to spin faster and faster and faster. So,
Yeah.
but we got to keep our legislators on the ball and help them make the right decision for our kids.
Yeah, you're right. The right decision.
Well,
One.
Ron, that's a good um comment that you made because when I was growing up, we only had fire drill.
Yeah.
That was it. Now, even when I was working in the federal government and all that, we had to get under the desk. We got to do all this stuff. Doors are locked. Then they have active shooter and all this stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
now. But the thing is, the private schools, they have security too, but why is it so much on the public school is because usually anybody could just basically walk inside a public school.
Yeah.
They don't even have all for example, like the private schools that I know about, they have like a nice fencing around it. They have the
Mm-hmm.
security guards around it. They have all the cameras. Everybody's watching through those cameras and things like that in the private school. So what is lacking on the public school side? They probably don't have as many cameras in the classroom or outside the building, and not so many expert, I guess, security person. I don't see money is the big issue there. How much you're going to put into that private school and how much you're going to put into the public school. But if you are for the children, you're for the children. That's it. It doesn't matter whether you're black, white, Indian, I don't care. The kids are the kids. They're in majority, well, kids, they don't up in this world. They don't come in this world saying, "Oh, I don't like this color. I don't like." They don't even know the difference.
Yeah.
Those all that stuff is basically taught. But in our community, we have to be careful because we're always targeted. So then we have to teach our kids to be careful because it's like everything that is white is bad for you. Whether I don't care whether it's sugar, flour, all that stuff, it gives you heart attacks, cholesterol, and then you look, there's so many white people, if they just bad. But there's good ones because I have some good white friends now, but hey, it don't I'm just saying we just don't know the difference of, the ones that are there for us. But like you said, the public and the private school, I mean, what is the difference in that safety? Why
Well,
is it like that?
well, I can answer some of that question about the public schools because I'm always out doing things in the public schools, and especially on the north side. I do know they implemented that the doors are locked. You gotta have a button pressed to get in, but just can't get in without showing your driver license to make sure that's you. Then when you
Mhm.
get in, you can't go no further than that to sign in and who you're going to see and all that. I also know that some school districts have also turned around and put this protective film on their windows to stop bullets. So there are some things going on in the public school that I see what's going on. And cameras. They're equipping a lot of schools with cameras now on the school buses. There are cameras on the school buses now, so they have stepped up a lot already. In the past 10 years, I've seen them stepping up. They can step up a little bit more if they enhance that money. If the governor enhance
Yeah,
that money
that's
to
good
public
news to
school.
hear.
But
Yeah, that
they are updating. I'm just talking about the North Side Independent School District, but I'm pretty sure the rest of the school districts in San Antonio and Bexar County up their game too to make sure the kids are safe. Because if there's any active shooting around the school is automatically in lockdown. Automatically, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. They in lockdown till everything is over with. And so they are doing that now, implementing lockdown, which I'm glad they do. So let's say they're outside for recess and something happens. These kids are rushed inside and they go to the classrooms. And if I'm right, let me know. If I'm wrong. Viewers, let me know. They go inside the classrooms, they lock the classroom doors, and they sit there until they still go on talking about school, but they sit there until the coast is clear for them to resume their normal activities.
well, that's good news to hear that they are, being more protective and things like that. But I just looking at all this private school and then the public school because they're just being downed, you know, a lot with the public schools. And then I know there's probably quite a few that cannot afford, you know, having their kid go to a private school. If that's the case, make all the just be equal across the board. Make every single school private.
Well, that if we lived in a perfect world, that would be nice, where we could have all of that.
Yeah.
But we live in a perfect world. You've got school districts that are money rich. Northside is one of the bigger ones, one of the more affluent ones in our San Antonio market.
Yeah.
And you got some Northside type of schools in all the other metropolitan areas: Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, Austin, all around. There's some very affluent districts out there. We unfortunately, everyone has had to up their game when it comes to security because of all the issues we've had in the past 10 years or so. And so now schools, all public schools are have become, to me, it looks like a prison setting. I taught in the prison system at Wyndham Independent School District for a number of years, and felt safer there than in a public school setting, classroom. They've got is one teacher to 26 students. These are adult students, right? And I had one guard, and even so much as one prisoner called me a redneck. Even so much as that, they got him, jerked him out of there, pulled him out. I never saw him again. But that's the kind of discipline level you have there. We're going to need to get to something like that in our public schools to maintain not only the safety of our kids, but the safety of our teachers and administrators and all the others. So we've had to up our game a lot in the public setting, and the same thing will have to happen with the private schools. You're going to have the safety issue there. So we've had to change, and we want our kids to be safe wherever they go to get educated.
Yeah. I'm just reading something right here, and Mr. Green, you was right. It went through the Senate first, but the new House Speaker, who's that, Dustin Barrows from Lubbock, has not yet appointed a committee chair to start moving the voucher bill forward. So even though it passed the Senate, and you're right, Mr. Green, it's sitting there in limbo right now because it passed the Senate doesn't make it a law. I jumped the gun on that. That was my fault. But you cleared it up for me, Mr. Green. So apparently, hopefully, they have people appointed by next week to look at the voucher. And so,
Can I look at it? Can I look at it?
what's that?
The voucher.
I mean, there's a committee. I don't know if we can
Can
look
I
at it or
just go in
not.
there as a guest and go look at the voucher?
Yeah, you might be able to because it's supposed to go through the lower chambers. Once they appoint somebody next week, that's what
Can
they
I
say.
write on everything and
Yeah.
just hey, you
So
fix it,
and no, because you show up, Dr. Brooks, don't mean you sit at the committee table.
no, I'm just coming as a guest and just I just want to see it and then so I can mark up everything.
Well, but they are looking for next week. They're holding a civic and business leader from Permian Basin that the House will pass a voucher program. So they say they're going to pass it, but they don't have a committee yet. So how can you say you're going to pass something you don't have a committee yet to make sure the bill was written right, Mr. Green? How is that the cart before the horse or what?
Well, well, you can say about anything you want to say, but that doesn't mean it's going anywhere. It's a free country, so
Yeah.
so yeah, they've just got to get it over in the House. You know, they've got some preliminary work to do, and once they get their chairman, and then they split out the bill and who's going to do what. It'll be a lot of changes coming before it's all said and done. We got a ways to go.
So speak about a ways to go. I'm gonna throw this out here. Of all the committees that's going on, there's no Democrat ahead of any committees. If we're supposed to move on and work together, what's the problem? Why we can't appoint the other party to help out? It's almost like, nah, y'all don't count. That's how I'm seeing it. What is the problem? How can we rectify the problem we have in Texas? We can't rectify the problem at the Capitol.
Well, that was coming whenever you have uh, a
My
full
God.
sweep of Republican officers. You know, that's making the decisions, and that was a big argument debate of how to prevent or keep any of the Democratic people from chairing a committee. So I'm sure in electing our House Speaker and that was some of the things that were discussed. So somebody has agreed on that somewhere along the line. So that's what we're getting.
And so they're talking about we need to come together as one as Texans. It's not going to ever be come together as one as Texans if one side is running everything and refuse to hear the other side. That's just like a very closed in argument. Like everybody say, you know the difference between an open end question and a closed end question. This is definitely closed. They don't want to hear anything from the other party, even if it's a fantastic idea. They don't want to hear it, and so that's
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 not
the
true.
problem that I have. We need to hear from both sides. Now, somebody would tell you there's his side, her side, and somewhere there's a truth. We don't have no her side. We just got his side, and that's it. So how can you run a state that's one sided?
Well, you know,
Exactly.
if you listen to the governor's State of the State speech here some days ago, um, Texas is doing outstanding. You know, we've got a booming economy, and companies and everyone are wanting to move to Texas, um, and so you know that speech was a very positive, powerful speech. So back to your point, it looks like things are running good so far, according to our governor. So,
Well,
Uh-uh.
I'm
I
gonna
don't
I'm gonna
think
say so.
so. I think some of those things are not correct as far as running, because if they were talking about even the economic part of it, and all the groceries, even all that stuff going up, that if you look at the numbers are not good because of the prices going up. But then even in the stock market, even in the crypto market, yeah, there's been a lot of mess up in there because of people doing things. We won't get into that part right there, but my thing is everything has gone up. It's not the truth. And that's, I don't know what part they're talking about as far as, our economy, because actually the numbers look different from when Biden was in office than now, when, everything started going up. So I don't know if there's any truth to whatever he was talking about. I don't
Well,
know.
I could chime in and say, has he went out to cities with small businesses and how they're being ran out of business because of the prices and everything. Now, big corporations, yeah, everything's booming here in Texas. They're making record profit and giving themselves record bonuses. But what about the mom and pop places that's being ran out of business because of the pricing going up? That's a problem to me because how can you start a business? You fail before you start. Number one, you can't get a small business loan. They're putting a freeze on all that. So how can we turn around and make it when everything in the book is thrown at us not to succeed? That's the gripe and problem that I have with some of the stuff that's going on here in Texas. Me, myself personally, when it came out, you get grants. During COVID, you get this, get this, get this. I was turned down not once, but 6 different times. And the last time I submitted something, they said, well, this loan is for farmers, not for you. Well, for business like mine. And so I'm figuring out if the door is closed before you even open it, that's why people are skeptical to start their own business because all the stuff you got to go through to get started.
Well, I found it interesting, and I'm not. Uh, I'm with you, Ron, on what you're saying. I found it interesting that when the governor gave his State of the State address, he did so at the corporate office of it's a company called Arnold Oil Company. They're in Austin. The owner, Jim Arnold, he's a classmate of mine here in New Braunfels High School, and he's done extremely well. And so the governor was making that speech uh, in the house, so to speak, of a business, oil business, when he talked about how strong the economy is. And so by doing that, it really appears that businesses are doing well. Granted, there's some small businesses that are struggling out there with the cost of material, et cetera. But the governor, he didn't address that. He just kept it on a high level.
And see, why wouldn't he go ahead and hit where the middle class at with a business to have that conference and not no $1 billion company, $1 million company, whatever it is. It'd have been more if he went to a small business and did something from there instead of where he was at. Because that's the point I'm making. If you for the people and you do anything for the people, then be for the people. Show up to some of these places. I grant him to get out and go to the small rural area, not just small white rural areas, but a mixed rural area. Blacks, Hispanic, Asian, because what he is saying to me and setting up to me is he don't care about minorities by what we seen right there. I'm just looking at it visual. And my visual looking at that saying he's not thinking about the other folks here in Texas. Just the ones up there who's got all the money. And that's a problem with me.
Yeah, Ron, when it comes to them giving like the address, like the governor's talking, the senators talking. we have to have the correct data. That's how we have the receipts of what they say is true or not true. What they can do, because you can get up there and talk so elaborate, making the people think that you're saying something true, and it's not true. And that's where people have to pay attention more to, is get the receipts, get the data of what the governor is saying. Because if he is not going into the minority areas and he's just thinking about all the rich and the wealthy, there's a problem there. You got to go look at all the data of what is going on. And I didn't hear the address. And I know if I hear the address, I know, because just by what Mr. Green just said, I know there's something there that is, they haven't went and looked at the data. They'll start making up things. I know one thing I see a lot on the right side there, I guess you could say, they have a tendency to just talk, but not really do. But then they talk and then they just blunt out lie. And I'm like, oh my God, they just lie. And then the people believe it. They believe it. But if you're not going to come and kind of take care of me in my community too, who are you really? What is it really about? Just be honest. You're a white racist. Just be honest. Just say it. I don't like black people. I don't like it. Just say it. And we just need to keep our distance and just maybe be separated, right? Because my thing is, if they're talking, let's go back to the school thing. They're talking about therapy. That is not my problem. That is white people's problem. They need to go to therapy. That's their problem, because it's racism. They're the ones that need the therapy. It's not me, because they're so racist. So my thing is, if they need to put their children in therapy, maybe that's why I wanted to be clear what the therapy was about. And then I see all the white agenda towards all that. And then the percentages of what Ron was giving me, I said, okay, wait a minute. So it's all balance again. So if you want to be a white supremacist, so be it. Go to your country where you like being that and do that. Just stay out of mine, right? So my thing is, that's their problem, and that's what they need to fix in their area, because we're talking about everything, and I think I'm kind of rounding up everything. We're talking about all the safety issues, and then just the fair education, the payment of teachers, the private and the public schools just being on a fair, just a fair, just on the fair side, each side be fair. But it's not happening. It's not happening. And so if we cannot be fair and let them clear up their little stuff and their little therapy, because that's what they need. That's exactly what they need, because they're the number one white, pure white people that is going up, shooting up schools with elementary kids in it. They're the ones that shoot up post offices. They're the ones that do all that stuff. They do all that sabotaging. That is them. Yes, they need therapy for real. And that is their problem, and they need to fix that. Okay, I'm done.
Well, let's go back to the what we're wanting to achieve. We're wanting to achieve a better and a higher, more qualified educational system and program to benefit our children. That's what we're all wanting. It's just a matter of how do we get there, and there's difference of opinion of how people want to go. The governor wants to pass a public voucher kind of program. He wants that. He's been hammering on that for the past couple of sessions. And so our public school system has not performed to the level that we wanted to perform. It's been pretty low, in fact. Uh, so one way to try to help with that is this private voucher kind of a program. It's a matter how we get there, and the money used, and that's what we're grappling about, is the amount of money and the money that goes to certain people. So we're working through it. This session has just started, and so we got to see what the House is going to do with this voucher program.
Yeah.
And we'll get more and more information, but it's going to create some other questions that come up whenever we do, and we'll get to public voucher program, but it's just a matter of time.
Yes, but when I look at the private voucher, even from the beginning, I kept trying to look and see in how they were going to work it. It's all catered to the white agenda. It's not catered to as a whole, even in the public school arena, because we just gave the data there. It's catered to the white. And so this is what I'm looking at. It's not on a fair. It's not going to be fair, because that's what the governor is building it off of. That's why I say just be honest. Governor Abbott, be honest. You just a racist. Just be honest about it. I mean, we already know it's obvious.
Without saying it.
It's obvious. So we have to deal with that part of it. And so since he's wanting to build like that, it's something else that has to come along, because it's all catered on the white supremacy, basically.
All right, let me throw some numbers at y'all right now. With this bill being passed in the Senate chambers, they say roughly up to 100,000 students who want to enroll in the state private school can participate in this program. But there's around 5.5 million currently attending public school. So they put $1 billion in there. And here's the kicker right here. We just talked about that. Now it's got to go down to the lower chambers. And now they're trying to figure out, is $1 billion going to be enough? I can answer that question for you right now. Absolutely not. Because you get 100,000 students participating in that, and you do the math, that's well over $1 billion. And they're going to need more money than that. And Mr. Green went out and said, well, we got to see what the lower house is going to say, because like I said, the bill's going to be changed. I can see some changes going on in here with just these numbers right here they're putting out. 100,000 could apply for it. There's over 5.5 million students in the public sector. Somebody going to get left out and is not going to be happy. So, I say numbers don't lie.
Nope, they don't.
And these are the numbers right here. And I'm just dying to see next week when they could appoint that committee chairman, and when they can move forward with this. Boy, you talking about sparks flying in there, because I honestly going to tell you, there have been quite a few Republicans that's skeptical of this bill, not just Democrats. Let everybody know. It's been quite a few Republicans I've been reading that say it's not clarified enough. It's not clarified. Well, it's going to get clarified next week once they get a committee chairman in there, because they're going to have to put everything on the table to vote on. And I don't know, but I'd love to be the fly on that wall because it's going to be some fireworks in there. So, it's a bill that is getting traction, but it's getting traction the other way too. Wait a minute. Have we thought this out? You know who this is going to affect? You know what's going to go on? So that's when we get down to the nitty gritty. is when they go in the lower chambers and start talking before they sign off on it. Anybody agree or disagree?
I agree with you 100%, Ron. I think uh, our senator from Jacksonville, Texas. I don't know if y'all have ever been to Jacksonville, Texas, but it is one of those small rural towns, and he has a reason for voting the way he voted. I'd like to talk with him and see what his reasons are, but you're right. There's even when we get into the House, there's going to be a lot of questions asked, and they're going to need some answers to those before they vote to move it forward. So the governor feels that he has enough over in the House to pass this voucher type program, but we'll see.
Yeah, man,
I know.
interesting, very interesting. Oh man, that hour
I
went
know
by.
it's so much, but yeah, I just have to learn a little bit more about,
Yeah.
from you guys.
Now,
So.
Mr. Green, who was that representative in Jackson?
In Jacksonville,
Yeah, who's that representative?
oh, I'd have to look his
Okay,
name
I'm gonna
up.
look it up because I'm gonna try to get him on the
Wait,
show.
let me see, Jacksonville.
Yeah,
It
we
was Senator Robert Nichols of
okay.
Nick.
Jackson.
Yes.
I'm gonna reach out to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Consider I've met him before. He's a strong person, and so it'd be interesting to see why he voted the way he did on this
yeah.
voucher bill.
Okay. Well, y'all, that. Golly, where'd that hour go?
Oh, it's already. Oh man, I tell you
We're
what,
not
I'm
gonna blame
learning.
nobody on this. We was just in a talkative mood this morning.
Well, it's going to get more exciting as time goes along. So
Yeah.
yeah, well, we just tip of the iceberg here so far.
Yeah. So let's switch gears to you, Mr. Green. We're gonna switch gears to you because you're running for office now, and we appreciate you throwing your hat in the ring there in New Braunfels. And my thoughts is with you. If I was in New Braunfels, you had my vote, but I'm in San Antonio.
But thank you. Word of mouth goes a long way.
Yeah. So one day we'll get you on the show solo, and we'll talk about what's going on there in New Braunfels, sir. I'm gonna make that promise to you.
Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Mr. Green, so what are you running for exactly? What will you be doing?
I am running for City Council District 1 in New Braunfels, Texas. Much like San Antonio, we operate a lot the same way, just not as big. But it's a position that I had won twice before, and the people have come to me and asked that I run again. This will be my third time running for this position as a city councilman. So we kind of know how the gears all work together, and I like it. It's fun. I mean, it's if you really want to make a big difference in what's happening in your community, run for any of these positions, and you're right there at the table and making decisions that affects people's lives day to day. And taxes is my number one thing we're going to work on, and we're going to lower your taxes. That's my number one promise.
Hey, see, I need to stay there because I did my taxes already for the state, and I just looked at it. I was in shock for a little bit.
Oh God, I don't even want to say about our
Since you brought it about tax, I know we're going over our time, but I gotta bring this up. I was not aware. I don't know when they did it, but they raised the price of the tollway. Cause I got my bill in, and I did that trip numerous times on a tollway. It was no more than $23. I did the exact same trip, and I got the bill in the mail. I almost fell down. It was $40 something. When did they raise that? I'm gonna look that up, find out when did they raise. Even though they're not asked, they want to reduce the taxes. See, this is the key. When they say they want to reduce the taxes, then they start charging for you to go to state parks. Then they start charging you more on the tollway. So they're not raising your taxes, but they're raising state sites for you to go see. It never cost any money to go to a state park years ago. And now you got, so that's another subject to talk about.
It's just so many things.
Oh, that's another thing, Tom. We got to talk about taxes too next time around. As soon as we get this school voucher deal going, maybe take a break from school vouchers and talk about taxes. You know, they say there's two things guaranteed in life. That's death and taxes.
That's true.
Yeah. All right, we're going to leave it at that. And I appreciate everybody coming on. And thank you, Dr. Veronica M. Brooks and George Green. We appreciate you taking time out coming on the show today.
Well, thank you all. God bless.
All right, take care.
Okay.
All right, bye. All right, everybody. That was Dr. Veronica M. Brooks and George Green on Texas in Color. We appreciate everybody joining us this morning. It was sort of lively for a little bit. I sort of liked what I was doing. It was good. So until next week, Texas in Color, this is Ronald Gordon. We see you next